Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Friday, July 25th, about 6:30 at night. Happy Friday, happy payday. This is the video covering YieldMax weekly paying dividend funds, Ulti, the Ultra Option Income Strategy Fund, and LFGY, the Crypto Industry and Tech Portfolio Option Income Fund. As always, the reminder, didn't mean to be on notifications there. I'm on X at ETF_Inspector1, where I let you know when videos are going to be coming out and premiering if you'd like to catch the live chat. And I also let you know how funds trade on other videos that I cover. Plus, I do things like call my shot and say Ulti's going to hit 2 billion in the next day. So wait around and find out if I was right. Stock market today was fairly mixed. Ulti was up slightly overall. But you got a decent mixture of red and green on the screen there. LFGY. So we don't actually get to have all the stocks underneath LFGY's header if they are shared with Ulti. They had a down day, down in the low 39s. We're used to being in that 40-41 range, but that's okay. Good amount of red on the screen there. Handful of greens tied in as well. But we're gonna go deeper than that. We'll look line by line. So we go in after 5:30, download the intraday trades, and Fridays are always a blast because you got to close out everything that hasn't been closed out yet. So luckily, we've got a decent amount on each that were already closed out. I'm going to get there eventually. Here we go. Ulti starts on line 332. Ends on line 432. That was easy. 100. It was about 150 yesterday. And then LFGY 467 to 553. I can't remember what I started with, but 90-ish, 90 something. Okay, so let's take a look. We're going to start off with Ulti. We're going to cover the trades a little bit different on a Friday than we normally would because not going to sit here and go back and forth marking them orange if they're closeouts, because we know all the trades on Friday are closeouts unless they happen to buy more shares and need to sell them or something gets run through. But we're not worried about next week on Friday. We want to get our weekend started. We just got our dividend check, so let's just hear how things made out. So for the first time in a long time, they only bought two different stocks, even though we had 29 million more outstanding shares than the day before. So people are still flooding into the fund, and well, I might as well acknowledge it because I spoiled it already. Of course, we blew through 2 billion. We did it in style too. Went 8 to 9% over 2 billion, 8.5% over 2 billion on the first day of being in the 2 billion. So we're not playing around here. We bought more Coinbase and Galaxy. Both were down on the day, so a good day to buy. Put about $15 to $16 million into each of them. And now from here, right, I'm not going to line by line. Maybe I'll do a little bit, but we're basically trading AAOI today, closing out and rolling to next week. $647,000 credit. AppLovin closing out for this week. Had to pay a pretty penny. Selling for next week. It was a debit of $98,000. If we take a look, it seems like it was just maybe bad timing because, well, yeah, definitely bad timing. So we closed out these 360s for this week at 814 and 960, and we sold for next week. That's the reason. We sold some for next week at 375, the others for 2 weeks from now. That's why we were able to collect so much more on that 400 than we did on the 375. So scratch everything I said. But that one basically saved us from taking a larger loss. All right, AST Space Mobile closing out, rolling the next week, $924,000 credit. Coinbase, another $963,000 credit, closing out, rolling the next week. Always love it when we're buying for pennies to close out and selling for dollars. First Solar, $307,000 credit, rolling the next week. we had to pay some decent money to close it out, but luckily the premium was there to make more on the sale. Did I say the number 307? I think so. Galaxy Digital, 974,000. This one's new to the Ulti fund in the past couple days, yesterday actually. So this was just selling the new options to go with the new shares, and then they adjusted their put on the other options that are already there, right? So they sold 5,000 contracts calls and bought 5,000 puts. That went with the new money that they just spent today, and then they just adjusted their put from 29 to 27 that was already done for next week. So nearly $1 million credit. IonQ, $1.2 million credit, closing out this week, paying 16 and 19 cents, selling next week for 94 and the week after for 220. Mara Holdings, this was just an adjustment of the put. We sold the $16 put and moved it to $15.50. Everything had already been rolled for the week, but we collected an extra $379, almost $380,000. Nebius, I think it's Nebius Group. Still not too familiar with that one. Almost $1.2 million collected, closing out this week, paying 7, 8, and 10 cents, selling for next week for $1, $1.10, and $1.22. Palantir, that one had a big start to the day, took off quick, got away from us. Closed out for $4.74, sold for $2.77 next week, taking a small loss, $265,000. Reddit, $56,000 debit. We had to spend to close out and roll to next week. Now, why is that? Basically, because of the price of the put, right? Because we sold for $5.89 where we purchased for $2.53 to close out. So that was a winning side of it, but puts are getting pretty expensive. Locking in that $135 is what cost us the premium. $56,000 to the negative. Rigetti collecting $677,000 on the roll to next week, paying 3 cents to close them out, collecting 34. SMCI took a loss, $225,000 what we had to spend to roll from this week to next week. Tempest AI rolling to next week cost us $105,000. And again, it was the purchase of the put that made the difference. Otherwise, we sold for more than we purchased for. Tesla's close out and roll to next week. This one was a little confusing. So we bought the close this week's 320s. We sold 335s, and we purchased puts. So maybe we just didn't have puts left with those to begin with. So that purchase of the puts is what put us over into the negative, $72,000. Upstart, $17,000 credit for the roll to next week. Nothing special there. Vertiv, we closed out our 128s for next week and moved them up to 142s. So this wasn't really a roll. This was just closing next week's calls and adjusting them higher because they must have already been in the money, obviously. So that's going to cost you money every time. Almost $4 million, $3.9 million. And Vistra Corp closing out this week, rolling the next week, and the week beyond, $591,000. Yeah, so, bought the close. Okay, so we closed out this week's, rolled it to 2 weeks from now, and then we also closed out something that the call that we already had for next week, and rolled it down closer to collect more. So $591,000. All in all, resulted in a good day, $3.1 million profit on the day, and I'm happy to tell you that this is the first week. I believe I'm going to have to go back through all the records. I think this is the first week of having a positive in the trading profit and loss. It's definitely going to be the first week both are positive. but we made out good because we had a $3 million profit or gain or credit on the trading and loss or trading. Geez, I can't talk. And we also made money, increased in value on our shares. Generally, we don't do both. So let's take a look and see how we made out. Part of that could be because things that were already rolled might have been what went up, so we didn't have to pay to close them out because we got another week. But anyway, so again, if you're used to the normal videos, you usually see orange on all the rollouts, but I'm not going to talk to you about where options sit. Every single thing that was expiring on the 25th is now closed out, and we don't need to sit and talk about where things are for next week. That's what our week look ahead video on Sunday is for. So we'll just talk about how the stocks performed. Applied Optoelectronics went up almost 5%, bringing in increase in our value by 3.8 million, going up to over 27. AppLovin increased by 1.17%, increase in our value by over $1 million. AST Space Mobile was the big loser today, down 9.5%. Almost $8.5 million decrease in our value of our fund. Coinbase down 1.27%. They were already under 400, but even further. So our calls for next week, well, we won those calls, and our calls for next week are already in good shape. Decreased our value by 1.1 million. First Solar up over 2.5% today. Increased us by nearly 2.5 million. Galaxy Digital down over 4%. That's our brand new one, so we don't want to be losing money so quick on it. Decreased our value by 1.5 million. Robinhood up 2.86%. Almost $2.5 million increase. The big winner today, Innodata, up about 6.25%, approaching $50, approaching that strike that's 2 weeks out. $5 million increase in value, though. We like that. IonQ down 1.69% with a $1.6 million decrease in value. Mara Holdings, very little changed. 1 penny down. 1 penny decreased our value by $49,000. MicroStrategy down 2.18%, getting close to that 400 number again. 2.3, almost $2.4 million decrease. Nebius Group, 1.5% decrease and a $1.5 million decrease in value. Makes sense. We got about 100 million in them. Oklo increased by 1.18%, took us up by over $1 million. Palantir had a nice day, up over 2.5%, valued up by almost 1.8 million. Reddit, an even 1% increase, took us up by a little over $1 million. Rigetti down 3.2%, almost a $3 million decrease in value. SMCI up by the 3.7%, increased our value by 3.6, almost 3.7 million. NewScale Power, that's SMR, up 1.29%, $1.3 million increase in value. Snap, this is one of our new ones. We got a smaller percentage of our money in them. 0.3% increase was worth $150,000 to our value. Tempest AI up 1.82%, $1.3 million increase in value. Tesla up over 3.5%. So that bad earnings and the drop from yesterday, we got a little bounce. Maybe it's a dead cat bounce, I don't know, but increased our value by 1.8 million. Upstart Holdings up an even 1%, $1.1 million increase in value. Vertiv, so that makes sense, right? We were looking at these where we saw where they adjusted things that were already out till next week because they were deep in the money already. 5% increase today helped our value out by 4.5 million. And Vistra Corp down a little over 2%, dropping our value by 1.8 million. So that all totaled to a $7,425,000 increase in value to our fund. Ulti ended at 627. That NAV will get updated with tomorrow's holdings, but we understand that it's basically a $7.5 million increase to the value, it'll all average out. It'll bring our NAV up with our closing price. But then tomorrow we will also find out if we had another 30 million people buy in, because that's 2 days in a row of 29 million plus outstanding shares being added to our overall total, getting near 350 million shares. That's crazy. Okay, that's it for Ulti. We'll take a look over at LFGY, see how they did. And if you watched yesterday's video, I kind of called the shot on this one too. So their trades are always crazy, right? So even on closeout day, numbers don't always make sense. We got all kinds of random little numbers all over the place. Sometimes just selling, sometimes just buying, not necessarily for any reason. It's not like we bought new shares. So I'm just going to run down the line and tell you what we brought in trading wise, because it's not always a roll. All right, but if you watched yesterday's video, I said it looks like we got a good chance to win all these trades tomorrow. As we scroll down, you're going to see that's just what we did. BitDeer brought in $6,800 trading. CleanSpark, $122,000 in credit. Coinbase, we brought in $8,300. Core Scientific, we brought in $156,000 on the trades. Circle, they almost made us lose. This is a low one. We made $800. Galaxy, credit of $2,800, right? And that's not to say that there was no expenses. You can see we're buying to close, selling to open, buying. So we've got purchases in there, but all of our sales are equaling more than our purchases. So Galaxy was $2,800, GameStop $48,000 credit, Hood $3,600. Even though all we did was sell some more calls, nothing to go with them, no closeouts. HUD 8 Corp, $138,000 credit. Mara Holdings, a $1,800 credit. MBTX, $3,100 credit. Melly, this is that high dollar, $2,000 a share price, $626. Not used to not saying 1,000 or 100. MSTR, MicroStrategy, we got a credit of $2,500. NU, we brought in $1,100. NVIDIA, $45,000 credit. Opera, $370. Another one that was pretty small, but we'll take every positive we can get. PayPal, we brought in $2,900, and Riot, $42,000 credit. Finally, XYZ Block, $52,000 credit. Definitely the first time I've said that. Every single stock within the fund was traded for a credit. That resulted in a $641,000 credit or profit on the day. Obviously, it's not a ton of money, but again, this might be the first time. I'll have to look back. We'll talk about it on Sunday. Might be the first time I'm going to say it, of profit for the week in the trading. All right. Comes with a small loss on the value. It's not an official loss because you don't take a loss as long as you don't sell the shares. So over here in the holdings for LFGY, I'm losing my train of thought here. BitDeer was down 3.4%. We'll just highlight. Let's do a quick scroll. We'll see if there's anything real big. It's a short enough list. $227,000 decrease in value. CleanSpark was the big loser over here, 4.21% decrease. That's a $374,000 decrease in value. Coinbase, 1.27% decrease, $395,000 change in value to the negative. Up 0.5% for Core Scientific, or $51,000. Down 0.11%, or $6,600 for Circle Internet Group. They're usually the big gainer or the big loser. Today they barely moved. Galaxy Digital, we saw them on the other side, 4.08% loss. That decreased the value by $174,000. GameStop down 0.79%. I forgot to make a trade on them today and realized it right at 4 o'clock. $42,000 decrease. The big winner over here today, Robinhood, up 2.86%, increased the value by $380,000. HUT 8 Corp gave it back up though with a 3.6% loss, $355,000 decrease. IBIT, this one hurt. They don't usually make those big of moves. Down 1.92%. That was a $340,000 decrease. Mara Holdings down a penny. Right, we talked about them already. On the other side, $8,000 decrease in value. MBTX was down, but since we don't own shares, it doesn't change our value. We just have our options trades, and when it goes down, that actually helps us because we've already sold the calls. So as they get cheaper to close out, then they have a smaller, closer to zero value. And then as this debit put spread will increase in value as it goes down. So yesterday this was worth 2 point something million. Then after this morning it was 3.2 and it went down some more, so it probably increased even better. Mercado Libre down 1.19%, took 82,000 off of our value. MicroStrategy down 2.18%, dropped the value by 420,000. NU Holdings down 0.12%, also a penny, $7,600 decrease in the value. Nvidia down 0.14%, $7,000 decrease. Opera up 0.7%, increased our value by 43,000. PayPal increased the value by 10,000 with a 0.21% increase. Riot was down a little over 1% or 116,000, and finally Block up 1.21% or 59,000. So that is how we came up with our $2 million decrease in value. Overall, we were up to 194 million assets under management before the day started. We know we decreased in value by 2 million, but we will see if any more money came into the fund. New outstanding shares from yesterday, there was another 100,000 purchased, bringing us up to 4.95 million shares. And that 39.39, after you take away 2 million, will drop the NAV down to within pennies of the closing price. All right, so quick recap like you guys like. Ulti had a credit positive on the trading wise, 3.1 million, and increased value by 7.4 million. We'd love to see every day like that for sure. And LFGY had a credit of 641,000 on the trading and a decrease in the value by 2 million. All right, make sure you come back on Sunday. We'll total it all up. We'll update the IVs, and we'll make some guesstimates. Also, if you like these funds, make sure you check out tomorrow morning. If you can make the live, great. If you can't, I understand. It's early. Where did he put it? Right here. We got a YieldMax ETFs with the Ulti coverage starring yours truly, ETF Inspector. So practically famous now. I get to talk on Retire on Dividends show. So this should be fun. So tune in. We'll do a little recap of how Ulti did. All right. And other than that, we've got some more videos coming out, right? I already made. Let's get to it. Already made the Roundhill video. If you follow them, that's got the next week's payment guesstimate on it. I'll do my weekly coverage of the individual income funds that I cover: AMD, AMZ, Aptly, Phoebe, GUI, Misfo, and Nefli. That'll come out tomorrow. My personal trades video. So I'm just showing you last week's, right? My personal trades video. I'm thinking I might try to make it tonight, but I'll still schedule it for tomorrow. And then on Sunday, everybody's favorite video, the week look ahead and payment guesstimate for Ulti and LFGY. It always does the best. I get a whole lot more views on that one. So thank you, everybody. Oh my goodness. All right, I hope you're all still listening so I forgot I wanted to start with this, but I guess we'll end with it. Crappy Human, who happened to be the first person to ever do a super thanks, just came in with another one. So just wanted to say a great big thank you to Crappy Human. Your name throws me off because I really feel like I'm insulting you while I'm calling you out, but thank you so much. Very much appreciated. All right, dad joke of the day. I will tell you my kids didn't get it, and that's a failure on my part. I can't find my Gone in 60 Seconds DVD. I swear it was here a minute ago. First thing they asked was is that a band? Is that a music CD? Like, nope. It's a car stealing movie. It's a really cool one. So I'm sure you guys got it. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Have a great weekend. And you can stop thinking about trading for a little while.